Welcome to the Tech Trends Podcast, where we discuss the latest manufacturing, technology, research, and news. Today's episode is sponsored by MT Forecast. I'm Ramia Lloyd, and I'm here with...
I'm Elissa Davis.
Stephen Lamarca.
Benjamin Moses. I'm back, y'all.
Ben is
Welcome
back.
Thank God.
We're going to put the episode where Ben was not here in a vault.
Yeah, we're not going to
For
talk
a
about
while.
it. We're totally fine. And
Which makes me sad.
Benjamin Moses.
In some ways, it's a great episode, but it is quite
I'll
chaotic.
send it to you, and you can watch it, and then you can determine
Okay.
whether
Like, at
that's
the
the vibe you want.
I'm gonna show it to my housemates.
I feel like
it.
in the moment, it probably made so much sense to us, but like looking back, like as an outsider watching it, it's probably like, oh.
Watching it with like a clear mind, I was like... One, the people around us who were actually working that time, because it was Friday morning, probably hated us because we were very loud. Like the first 10 minutes was just like peaks of us like
you're
screaming.
right. And we did it on a Friday, which didn't feel
Yeah.
right too. And then we realized
And then
there's an office here. This is a work environment.
It'll be a good holiday episode.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's okay.
I think it's a holiday.
Yes.
That's a good
Yeah.
pivot.
It'll be like a what's those like Easter eggs? Like if you watch this episode and then later when the episode come out, you have to like watch it and be like, oh, this makes sense.
That would make
Yeah.
sense.
We should even make a graphic for it called the Easter egg episode. Maybe we should release it for Easter and have an Easter bunny pooping out an egg, and it's the podcast.
That is so
So-
specific.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was in Japan.
Yes.
That's the main reason I was
why we
gone.
needed that.
Yeah.
This is why.
I took a little vacation trip, so spent 2 weeks. This is the first of a lot of firsts on this trip. So first time family went to Asia together. I've been a few times. I still consider India Asia, although some people probably don't.
I was corrected by Sharab so many times, so like, I do now. From now on, when I mean like that Asia, I say
Yeah.
East Asia.
East Asia.
And then India Asia. Or India.
Okay.
And then spent 2 weeks in Japan traveling around. We went to I'll say 4 or 5 different cities. Wow. Stayed in Tokyo for a couple of days, went to Shizuoka, and then stayed in Osaka for a few days. Then we launched from Osaka to a couple of places. And it was a great time. It's really interesting to see like the different culture. And it's a completely, I wouldn't say different. So the relatability is fairly different. Like my daughter mentioned like the aesthetic style that people dress. Like when you stay in Osaka, we actually moved to like a corporate area. Got a discount to stay in one of the hotels there, and it was all just corporate people. Like the stereotypes of like a billion people going into work in the morning, all dressed in black, dark blues, and whites, match that style.
Wow.
And then in the evenings, people out late night, and basically the corporate clothes again. Just they go straight from work to the bars. And it's very interesting.
Highballs.
It's highballs, exactly. And it was very interesting, like the like setup for some of the bars. Like this one place we went to was like 8 stories high, very narrow building, and every single floor was just a different bar. It was
Really?
very.
So cool.
It felt like The Fifth Element when everything's so jam packed. Where and the bar is literally the size of this table. Like
Good
there's
reference.
Only room for like 6 people in this bar.
I mean,
Yeah.
they
And
work
it's 8
hard,
stories of it.
but they party hard.
They party hard.
Because things are open in like Osaka until like 3-4 in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they don't open the next
So-
day until like 10
Yeah.
or 12?
They're
There's
there
no,
for like when you get
morning.
off of work, and then you
Yeah.
can like blow off steam. But they're open super late.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
so pathetic. I couldn't do that. Even in my prime, I couldn't. Well, no, it was okay. But
So
I definitely couldn't do it now.
I do want to ask your thoughts on how do you guys get over jet lag? Because I flew back technically yesterday, and I didn't fall asleep until like 2:00 this morning.
Stimulants.
I mean, yeah, you try your hardest to get back on the real schedule, but like I'm a real hypocrite because I try to power through, but I almost always end up napping like every
A little
time.
power nap.
No, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
yeah,
I
that's
slept
good.
like 3 days straight. When
Yeah.
like I woke up at night and I was like, again, I'd wake up at like 2 a.m. and then go back to sleep at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
and then wake up
Yeah.
at 2 p.m. and it was a terrible cycle until I was able to like get back on track. And May had been like 4 or 5 days after I returned.
And even
Okay.
Yeah.
even if you have like a solid plan of how you're going to get over jet lag, and if you've done a ton of research to prep yourself for the jet lag, you don't know if you're going to get sick.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you come home from somewhere, like it's funny. My mom hasn't had COVID until she just got back from her trip through Europe, and it was the first time she got it, and it was like, it's just.
She knowingly got
both
it. My mom
times-
would say she didn't get COVID, but my mom was definitely got COVID.
Yeah, no, exactly. My mom knowingly had it this time, and
Also, I think the airline industry did a fairly good job of trying to convey how clean the place is. But the airplane is a petri dish. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. It is gross.
You're like sitting in the same place for like 12 hours.
Well,
Yeah.
like everyone's
Everybody's
taking off their
coughing
socks
and
and their shoes. Like transcontinental flights is
That
okay to
is
take
wrong.
off your shoes. Taking off your shoes is fine on a transcontinental flight, and I will die on that hill. But taking off your socks
That's gross.
is disgusting.
Those little
many
slippers,
reasons.
like, girl, do not put them slippers on your feet. On your bare feet?
Yeah,
No.
no. Wow. Yeah, but like my dad, he travels to Japan all the time, and like he's been going back and forth for over a decade now, and he still gets horrible jet lag.
Yeah.
Like he'll be gone for a week, he'll come back. It was funny because one time, like when the Lego movie came out, I remember this very distinctly. It was the weekend it came out, so we went as a family to go see it. And we were sitting like in the front row because there was no seats because everyone wanted to see a Lego movie. I look over halfway through the movie and my dad is out. Like he's catching flies. And I was just like, because he'd gotten back like the night before.
Yep.
And so I was just like, all right. So that's like a very distinct, like that's like a core memory for me now. And that wasn't that long ago, but it was just like, he was fully asleep in the middle of a movie theater in the front row.
Wow.
So
I expect to go home today and find the rest of my family still sound asleep.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be knocked out.
yeah.
Also, I mean, everyone's taking vacation times. You're going to Williamsburg, which is one of my favorite cities to visit.
Yeah, I actually haven't been to Williamsburg like proper since I was a little kid.
Okay.
My grandparents have lived in Virginia Beach for like 25 years, so I go up to Virginia Beach a lot. But drive through Williamsburg. And we used to go when we'd visit, we'd go to like Busch Gardens or we'd go to Colonial Williamsburg and stuff like that. And obviously that became much harder as my parents had 5 children. So we that's something that I'm gonna do. Yeah, my 30th birthday is a week from Sunday.
Congratulations.
And thank you.
Exciting.
And so this is my gift to myself is a week off of work and doing things just for myself. I thought about taking like a birthday trip with like friends, but I was like, I feel weird asking people to pay to hang out with me, basically. So I splurged on this nice hotel, and I'm gonna go to Colonial Williamsburg on Monday. I'm going to Busch Gardens for myself. I'm really excited about Busch Gardens though, because I'm like a big roller coaster girl.
That's
My
good
family
rides.
is not a roller coaster. They're not all roller coaster people. So like I plan on going on like every roller coaster at Busch Gardens, especially ones that have like single rider lines, because I can just go right to the front. So I'll be by myself. It'd be great. I did buy pepper spray just to be safe. But
Smart.
yeah, and I'm a writer, and I've started many novels in my lifetime. Never finished one. I'm really good at beginnings and ends. I'm not very good at middles.
Sure.
So that's what I'm really working on. And I promised myself I would finish a novel before I turn 30. So that's part of the trip too. Is
Nice.
to take a couple of days in a really beautiful place and write.
It's going to be awesome.
So I'm excited.
I hope you have so much fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm living through you.
I
If
do.
text you every day.
Okay.
Okay.
Busch Gardens does not have my favorite roller coaster in the area. That would go to King's Dominion with the Intimidator 305. I'm pretty sure I've waxed poetic on this podcast about it before. But I will say Busch Gardens, I love the vibe of Busch Gardens. It actually feels like you're in a national park with like other countries' stuff in there. But the roller coasters there are epic. And I will say Busch Gardens has the only roller coaster where I was actually terrified for my life. Apollo's Chariot.
Okay.
You just have the little thing that covers your
Yeah.
lap. You're not strapped in. And I'm
going
like,
upside- you're
I'm
fully
a-
upside
I'm a big
down.
bull. No, you're not upside down.
Oh, you're
It
not?
never, there's no loops. You never go up. It just goes up and down and up and down. And it's just G-forces. It's just vertical G-forces. And you just have the lap thing. And I'm like, I'm flying off this beat. It's the same roller coaster that Fabio got hit in the face by a seagull. Like,
Oh my God.
Like he was bleeding. You know that like tall Italian
Yes.
model with the
Yes.
really long hair.
Roommate
He got
place.
hit.
Yep.
Yes.
A seagull broke his face because it was going over a crest and and
So
he was in the front row.
That's
I,
not funny,
I do
but
want to
that's
get
kind of hilarious.
I do want to get at some point in this whole conversation of how did you find that in your feed? Well,
I found that in my feed decades ago.
all right, we'll come back to that later.
Real quick, I do want to make a quick pitch about my other favorite place in Williamsburg, and that is Pierce's Pit Barbecue. My family has been going there since my dad was a little kid, since
Okay.
it was like a smoker on the side of the road. And I stop there every single time I go to Virginia Beach. My family stops there every single time I go to Virginia Beach. And I'm
What's this place called?
Pierce's Pit Barbecue.
I gotta find it right
They
now.
sell their sauce like in bottles and stuff like that, and it's a Carolina barbecue style place. It's great, and I'm gonna stop there on my way and on my way back because It's like my favorite
As you
place.
should.
Nice.
It's always busy, so like I don't know why I feel like I need to plug it, but like I feel like everyone
Here's his
should go
Pit
there at least
Barbecue.
once in their life. Yes.
East Rochambeau Drive,
Yes.
Williamsburg. I'm putting it on want
It's
to go
only a
right now.
2-hour
Save.
trippy.
All right, Ramir,
Want
can
to
you
go.
tell us about today's sponsor?
Done. Open soon.
Pearson. No, I'm just kidding. MT Forecast provides the latest marketing. Oh, hold on. MT Forecast provides the latest market insights to build winning sales strategies to follow up on the thousands of connections exhibitors made at their booth. By combining global macroeconomics, business news, sector-specific deep dives, and key networking opportunities, attendees will develop agile strategies for changing market conditions to stay ahead of the competition and drive growth. Attendees may choose from strategy, opportunity, and data tracks to focus on what matters most to their business. Go to amtonline.org/events to save the date and register.
Thanks.
There's a lot of big ones.
Looking back at our last episode that we attempted to record,
We didn't put any of that information in there.
yeah, we can't let it go live because what we said about MT Forecast, like
Exactly.
I would certainly lose my job. Maybe you guys would too by proxy.
I
Steve,
don't want that.
tell us about the test bed.
So we've got some testbed updates that were from a while ago, but they haven't been mentioned here. So we've got new soft jaws for the gripper, thanks to you.
Yep.
It's a new design that Ben designed and Ben had printed. And we're just testing the dimensions right now and testing its grip performance of the soft jaws, and can it grab onto the enclosure of the pocket NC to open it and close it smoothly. And if those dimensions seem right, once I finish doing my job, then we'll know if it's the right design or not. And if it is the right design, we'll ship it off to Kyle Salibi at Georgia Tech, and hopefully that happens soon. And then we've also got to finish programming the robot so it knows to open and close. But other than that, we've got a new mission for the test bed, which is really cool. We AMT and the MT Connect Institute are really excited to get more a project going to get the attention of NVIDIA. They're doing a lot with digital twin and in animated movies, but a lot of what's going on in animation today, both for video games and for cinematic animation, a digital twin is becoming more and more not necessary, but like mandatory. And NVIDIA is involved with that because one of their big things that people can't stop talking about, especially myself, ray tracing, which is very cool. Special effect in 3D animation and video games. It can't be done without a digital twin. You need to have the full environment of a setting loaded and calculated for to have light in that setting be bent around all of the walls and objects in the setting. And you need digital twin for that, and Russ and the MT Connect Institute is working with us at AMT to create a development environment with the test bed for this digital twin to help NVIDIA with their standardization of graphic design.
So you're referring
I'm
to
babbling
the
now.
universal scene description. So it's
Thank
a way,
you.
It's a way.
Thank you for knowing the real words.
Yeah, so it's a way for standardizing how you have a visual representation of basically any scene. So the problem that they're trying to solve is on a macro scale of you got movies, and the same technology applies to manufacturing, how you represent a basically factory or a digital twin in real-time simulation. So that's the key,
Right.
I think, is providing...
It's starting with games and movies,
Right.
but it will flow into manufacturing because manufacturing already has a huge stake in the potential of digital twin.
Yep. So that's cool. Definitely excited for that, and definitely excited to see what Kyle can do on our production version of our fingers. So I've got an article on metrology. So one thing that's come pretty apparent on the state of digital manufacturing is data silos. We're realizing that the article talks about, you have these pockets of information. So I'm collecting data off a machine. That could be a different pocket of information than the part itself. And that's different information on like the data processing. And the article kind of goes into, kind of the cons of keeping those silos independent of each other. So you got incomplete data analysis, delayed decision making, inconsistent quality standards, and then increased operational costs. And the article slowly transitions to okay, that's a problem statement. Well, how do you get to a better state? So they talk about having a integrated data platform. So it doesn't all have to be in one place, but how you call that information and aggregate that information is kind of important in the future. So it's a very interesting look of, okay, we're good at collecting data. Now, how do we get it to a useful information state? And breaking down the silos so I can call this information to one place, I think it's the future state what they're looking for. So that was kind of an interesting look.
That is interesting.
So it's like you want to have like an MT Connect of metrology,
Kind of. So
like a universal standard.
So it's a piggyback off that. So where I store and how I call the information is what they're looking for.
Okay.
So not only if I have one database on just the part information, great. So if I want to see the part history on that thing, I can do that. But if I want to connect into, okay, how did I process information or how was the machine running, then I have to go beyond that single silo.
Mm-hmm.
So it's extending how I look for information.
Yeah. One of the problems that like Chloe and Sharab run into a lot with just our test bed is the machines collect data. The machines generate and collect and save said data. All machines do. Where they store it is sometimes very tough to get to,
Right.
and sometimes the manufacturers are not very transparent on it because they're just trying to protect their IP. But I feel like, and one of the things that Chloe, the MT Connect Institute does is develop, an agent and adapter for each device, and an agent and adapter needs to be made for each, piece of technology that you have. But theoretically, you shouldn't need to do that if you have all of your devices streaming the data and saving the data to the same folder. That introduces a little bit of IP risk, I feel like, because now you have a target-rich environment for an outside source that wants to do harm for whatever reason. Now they know that there's only one location to look. So I feel like there's a little bit of security in the way that it is now.
Right.
But I feel like we're not far enough along for it to be a real risk yet.
Right. The key takeaway, I think, is taking a step back and looking at data architecture. So I agree with you. It doesn't always have to be in the same folder,
Yeah.
right? But how I go about looking for it, I need to be able to combine my data sets.
If you had a program that knew where all of the data was
Right.
and aggregated the data for you instead of making the machines do it.
Right, exactly.
Instead of making the machines talk to each other, instead you have like a digital operator
Right.
that can tap into all of the data and collect it and put it on one dashboard instead of individual dashboards, leaving it up to the physical machine operator to know what's actually going on.
Yep.
That's cool.
Steve, tell me about your article.
I have an article that is not manufacturing related at all. I mean, it's a little like a hot topic is hydrogen powered engines and hydrogen as a fuel source in vehicles. And just to mansplain real quick, there are two types of hydrogen vehicles. There's a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, which is just an electric vehicle. It's an EV that instead of plugging it into a wall outlet and some plant burning coal to generate the electricity that is stored in the battery, instead you have a hydrogen fuel cell that creates that conducts a chemical operation to turn hydrogen into electricity to either be stored in that fuel cell or in a battery in the vehicle and then run electric motors. And then the other version of a hydrogen vehicle is a hydrogen combustion engine, which is very similar to a typical internal combustion engine that we have now, but instead it burns hydrogen instead of petroleum or fossil fuels. Kawasaki, who is like very much like the Toyota of the motorcycle world, they've created an EV motorcycle in the last year. They've released an EV motorcycle. They are about to release a hybrid motorcycle, which nobody else has done. other people have made EV motorcycles. Harley being one of them, actually, with the live wire. And it's funny. Let me just sidebar real quick. Harley doesn't like the fact like their owners, their riders. You know, they want they don't want EVs. So Harley Davidson has actually been forced to like not discontinue the live wire, but be like, you have to become your own brand now.
Oh.
We don't want to be
That's separated.
associated with you.
That's
You're not cringe enough for us.
You're telling me the Hells Angels don't want EVs?
Yeah, no, they want to be. They want that. They don't want a hum. They don't want silence. They want to be seen. That's what they sound like. Okay, but so Kawasaki has doubled down on a hydrogen combustion engine, and they made a hydrogen version of their most powerful and insane motorcycle, the Ninja H2, which is a liter bike, meaning it has a 1 liter displacement inline 4, which is already an insane psychotic motor that you straddle between your legs and then take to 200 miles an hour. They supercharged that to make the H2. So like they made a 200 horsepower motorcycle and then added a supercharger to make a 300 horsepower motorcycle. And Kawasaki's like, but we're also down with hydrogen, so we're going to make this thing run on hydrogen too. And they made a hydrogen H2.
And I do want to mention that, you know, I don't think you should downplay the connected manufacturing, because MP Forecast actually talked about this quite a bit of EVs are kind of a stepping stone to potential hydrogen in the future.
Yeah.
So how that affects manufacturing is like, there's a pretty big pivot on a lot of our members of the equipment for shifting to EVs. Now, definitely seeing a shift towards potential hydrogen in the future and where that applies to manufacturing.
I also think, and I've said this before, and again, we're tangenting, but if EVs were to like take over the way they were, you know, legislation was trying to make them, and it's not looking like it's going to go that direction anymore. But if we were to go fully EV by like 2035 or whatever that year was, then there would be a lot of like internal combustion mechanics all over the country that would be not out of a job, but like the really good ones would be able to maintain their job and the other ones would be out of a job. But that would help close the skills gap in manufacturing, because if you can work on an internal combustion engine, you can probably work on a machine tool. If anything, you'd probably be really good on a machine tool. So, but now it's not looking like it's going that direction. So, we're going to have to find workers from somewhere else. Anyway, said all of that to say this hydrogen-powered Kawasaki Ninja H2, it's like the people the test riders who've talked about it said it's still an insane, like psychotic, fast motorcycle, but now it's like riding a humidifier because it generates so much exhaust, and now that exhaust, instead of being like, you know, bad stuff for the environment, now it's water vapor, and it's very hot, and it's very humid, and it's just like it doesn't matter how good the weather is, you're going to feel disgusting riding this thing.
Lovely.
That's funny.
So there's some things to iron out.
So Ramia,
Yeah.
Literally.
we're preparing for the
unintended.
Olympics, and I know you found a pretty good one on exoskeletons.
Yeah. I was on Twitter last night because I refused to call it X.
Yeah.
And
Twitter.
a French Paralympian, Kevin Piet, who's 36, he was a tennis player and he lost his legs in an accident, I guess at 11. He was able to walk, and he was able to walk the torch flame down the street due to an exoskeleton.
That's
I just
cool.
thought it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
That's a great article, Ramia.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I do like it because it brings back, you know, exoskeletons have been quiet for a little bit, and there's still a lot of applications where there's still potential, particularly in the health industry, and seeing this in the real world is kind of interesting. So that's good.
Hilti
cool.
Hilti is a tool company. I think they're from Norway or they're from some Norse country. Hilti makes an exoskeleton for construction workers and other day laborers that just need, you know, some less fatigue,
Yeah.
and want, you know, their job to be less hard on their body. They make exoskeletons for them. And an Italian robot company, Comau, I think they're a member of ours, or at least their parent company is a member of ours. Comau makes a robotic exoskeleton for the manufacturing industry. Sick,
so cool.
What
really
I'm
sick.
hearing
The
is that
Italians,
we're really only a few steps away from Iron Man.
honestly, like,
We'll
War
find out.
Machine is already on the way. It sounds like
Throw-
the Iron Man.
and then throw hydrogen fuel cell or hydrogen combustion in there too. You know,
Hey.
You never know.
Elissa,
Yeah.
wrap us up with some AI in Paris.
Yeah, so on the topic of the Paris Olympics, so France itself, so it's part of the EU, and the EU actually has some of the like strictest data privacy laws.
Yep.
In the world, but they specifically passed a few laws to make the AI mass surveillance at the Paris Olympics much more broad.
Okay.
So it is in contrast to the 2022 Olympics. I'm sorry, 2022? No, 2020. 2020. Thank you. In Beijing, was that 2020? Yeah. Where basically the Olympians were told, "Hey, you should just leave your phones at home and get burner phones because the like data privacy here is like not great. It's like super like things are gonna happen." So let me pull.
I'm just thinking while you're pulling that up, I'm just thinking of like the scene from The Departed where Alec Baldwin is like the Patriot Act, the Patriot Act.
So in 2023, France enacted law number 2023-380, a package of laws to provide a legal framework for the 2024 Olympics. It includes the controversial Article 7, a provision that allows French law enforcement and its tech contractors to experiment with intelligent video surveillance before, during, and after the 2024 Olympics. And Article 10, which specifically permits the use of AI software to review video and camera feeds. So these laws make France the first EU country to legalize such a wide-reaching AI-powered surveillance system. And that is because they have such strict data privacy laws.
Yeah, and I do like the intersection of it because it's as AI and the tools become more efficient, you know, there's always a political, or just like you mentioned, the EU has very strict laws about video recording, people privacy, but the rules will change eventually and how we apply that. So even if we play in the manufacturing space, right, how you control that data, and to your point earlier about IP control, it's all going to be changing quite a bit in the future. So
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
I think, you know, as I don't know, I think I like the Olympics. Obviously, it's going to bring a lot of tourism. It's going to bring a lot of people into the city and stuff like that. So, like, I can kind of understand it. And obviously, it is comparatively to China, it's very different because the FBI is not saying, "Hey, leave your phones at home and buy a burner." But it is, you know, obviously, it is changing because it's going from, "Hey, we have these super strict privacy laws," to, "Hey, we're going to be able to monitor you before, during, and after the Olympics," and the law says that we can.
Yeah.
They still have to follow, obviously, like overarching like EU laws and things like that. But this is France specifically passed these in preparation for the 2024 Olympics.
And what was the purpose of doing this? What was the positive intention? Just to increase
make it more
security?
secure, yeah,
Okay.
to increase security for the city during the Olympics.
Gotcha.
So the article that I chose specifically is like a legal expert breaking down, or a legal scholar breaking down how it is a boon for security, but it's a privacy nightmare. So, because obviously with AI is not perfect.
Sounds like something that's not going to go away from France as soon as the Olympics is over.
Well, that's
I have
why
a
it
feeling
says
they're
it's
going to hang on to
before,
that.
during, and after the
Absolutely.
Olympics.
That sounds
So
like
it's
some
gonna
bad
continue
actors are in
on.
place.
But I think what we've talked about on this podcast quite a few times, that AI is far from perfect. So I think that's obviously where a lot of people are like, this is a privacy nightmare, because how do we know that the AI doesn't have an implicit bias because of its programming, because of
Absolutely.
who set it up, because of whatever it may be, right? So
That's a really good point, because the bias is still an ongoing issue, especially when you look at human face recognition and applying all those boundaries. The data sets to get there, that's interesting. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the Olympics, though.
Yes.
Yay. I'm so obsessed. Olympics and Shark Week. It's like the best thing that ever happened to me.
Also-
I'm so excited.
I've seen a few like the same reel pop up on my Instagram a few times about the Olympians. This Olympian showing off that they have cardboard bed frames. I think it's cool. Like they're trying to talk smack about these cardboard bed frames. It was like that's amazing. And besides, you're an Olympian. You don't weigh anything. That can handle you. Calm
Considering
down.
like how many beds they need and for the time
Yeah,
span, it just makes sense. Like,
And it's recyclable.
yeah.
But apparently the mattresses are really, really not great.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
really
well-
comfortable. Because I mean, you have to keep them like lightweight if they're gonna be on cardboard and stuff like that.
well,
but,
Yeah.
when? Then you don't have to worry about it.
yeah.
Ruby,
Do better.
Yeah. Sorry.
Can you tell the people where to find more info about us?
amtonline.org/resources. Like, share, subscribe.
Bing bong.
Bye, everyone.